Hey, this is Ross Payton with Role Playing Public Radio. I just want to give you guys an announcement that we have a new milestone up on the RPPR Patreon. If we get to $2,400 a month, I will start adding new mirror sites of our RPPR actual play campaigns, so that if you want to download all of No Evil, you can get an RSS feed that lets you get all of No Evil without having to sort through any of the hundreds of other episodes on our feed. And I will do that one campaign a month for every month that we meet this milestone. So I'll start with No Evil, and then we'll go on from there. I have an example site just so you can see what this looks like for the final revelation. There are links in the show notes. So if you copy that RSS for the final revelation, put it in your podcasting app of choice, you can see all 4 episodes of the final revelation, plus the Post-Mortem. And so that's sort of an idea of what you'll get with this milestone. So I know a lot of you like re-listening to our older campaigns, and this is a way to do this. So thank you all for supporting the RPPR Patreon. We have tons of bonus podcasts on there, after hours. We have a new one called Questioning for Answers, which is a question and answer podcast where the cast answers your questions. Of course, we also have older episodes where we talk about Palladium, World of Darkness, and a lot of other cool stuff. So check it out. And thank you all for supporting RPPR. And with this, here is the Post-Mortem for Rain, Nagalisitu, which we recorded shortly after the campaign ended. So it was all fresh in our heads. Enjoy. It's Ross Payton with Role Playing Public Radio. This is RPPR episode something, because I don't know when this is going to go on the air exactly, because we have to wait till the campaign's over before I can post the Post-Mortem.
We should just say it and then pause and then have like a voice that's not you just read a number.
Yeah, just Google it.
This is number 146. Yeah.
Just make this a number station.
Oh yeah, I'll just splice together some number stations.
725.
Yeah, exactly.
9.
So this is the Post-Mortem from Rain, Nagalisitu. Caleb's first.
You haven't changed the name yet.
Yeah, yep. And I can't because I'm posting it on the internet.
There's time.
No, you don't understand how lazy I am. I copy the previous episode number and then paste it in the new thing and just change the number. Sometimes I even forget to change a number.
So
because
you
effort
don't
is
type the word episode.
No, I just change a number.
Because effort is a losing man's game on RPPR.
It's like Rain, Nagalisitu, episode 1. Copy, paste, change 1 to 2. So that's all there is. Yeah. What's wrong with
Just staggering.
Also, I don't want to misspell Nagalisitu. If I type that manually.
No, that's fine. I thought you literally did episode. Can't type that out.
Well, I'm already copying Rain Nagalisitu.
Okay,
episode
all right.
next to it.
I misheard it.
God. Anyways, so yeah, we're doing a little change of pace where we're recording the Post-Mortem while the campaign is still fresh in our memories. So
Weird.
Yeah. We'll start out with Caleb explaining the genesis of this campaign.
Well, the first time I mentioned it was in campaigns I shan't be running. So I ran it, and we actually finished this one, unlike the other campaign that we shan't be running, which I didn't finish.
Yeah.
It was sort of based on the Haitian slave revolt, and so I wanted a fantasy version of that, and overcoming, the fact that, the main reason that was so terrible is because, when you have this sort of ideological split with the masters, it is sort of on their own terms, and I wanted it from an original position, like John Rawls's philosophy ethics problem. But I didn't want it to be the reason I never ran it is because I didn't want it to be all white saviory and like we will save you. And so, that's when I came up with the masters and the magical terror of it and how it's really awful and had nothing. But it still felt very white saviory until we came up with and then I couldn't get past the idea, cultures move slow. how do we get there? And then the time dilation thing is what finally made me think I could run it, because you can start off when you're a white savior colonialist like fantasy play, and then by the end of it they've had a couple thousand years more history than you have, and you're a stone savage to their cultures. But you built them, so you can't really complain. And that's how I figured to get past it. And then beyond that, I'm just like, the further I get into GMing, the more I realize it's a good thing I missed Rollmaster, because I'm really into charts and like numerology as a method of design. And so when I pitched it to Greg and he said yes, I was like, oh shit, how am I going to do this? Because I didn't expect him to say yes. So I came up with the 4 elements, and then I realized that, okay, it'll be a different society depending on the order of the elements you put them in. So I coded them A, B, C, and D for economic, education, religion, and military. And then I made a spreadsheet of like the first 4 options, and then the 12 options that are after that, and then the 24 options that are after that. And then I skipped the last phase because cultures have momentum, and then that's kind of boring because you know what the next one's going to be. Like once you have 3, you're locked into the one you're missing. So I didn't think that was going to be interesting to write, and that's how it came together. Yeah. So when I had room in the thing I was writing to actually explain the genesis of it, is I kind of explained it was like John Rawls's original position, which is the idea that if we all cease to exist and have no corporeal form or faces or bodies or class, and you're just intellect floating around, and we could all talk about what we're going to design the earth as, you would make the most egalitarian society possible, because you don't know if you're going to grow up as the peasant kid in Mumbai or like Steve Jobs. Like, you don't know where you're going to roll the die on life. And so it's sort of like this thought experiment on the most egalitarian society. So their original position was terror and nightmarish horror. And you're like, well, let's design that because it's got to be better than this. And then the other one was Nagel's spider, which I've talked about before, which is, you think you're helping something and then you kill it. and so it was a combination of that.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and of course, you actually had to playtest that. So
yeah,
enter us.
Yes.
As in hindsight, do you think us just letting us do random character generation was a mistake, or an act of providence that enhanced the quality of the
or
campaign?
something in between?
I've been here before. I knew it was going to happen. I knew you were going to go whackety schmackety do, Ross, no matter what we did. So until like around session 4 or 5, when you start to give a shit about your character, and you stop mentioning the fact that you were raised by beavers.
I never stopped mentioning that.
Yeah, but you when you were like the Politburo Minister of Information for fighting, foreheads as revolution, you're like, ooh, I'm a beaver man who knows sorcery. Came up less.
Suddenly it was, I'm a beaver mancer with an N.
Yeah.
All right.
So yeah, I wasn't too concerned.
All right. So I guess we should go around the table and then just everybody could talk about some of their favorite or maybe not necessarily the highlights, but like the most memorable bits of the campaign. That can kind of jumpstart the conversation. So, Aaron, you had a lot.
Yeah. Well, also, I want to say at first, I cannot take a lion's share of a lot of Dweenar stuff because Jason was in the background prodding a lot of that as well, in a positive way too. Because the way that I played him was, despite the fact that he had phenomenal cosmic powers controlled by very squiggly lines, is the best way I can put it, that he had a very small understanding of. I was trying to play him a little bit more humanistically, and a
little.
Well, okay, just because I again, Caleb does have a point of with great power comes great Fraggle rocking every once in a while, and I tried to put it in turns. Now, granted, I failed miserably with the muffins. I just kind of clasped onto that, and that's a topic for another point. But
People talk about the beers for me, but like
that's true. The muffin.
Oh yeah, no, we all had our moments.
Yeah, we had the moments. But I will say a lot of just the general interactions with everybody. Honestly, between Sean and myself, I really liked a lot what he was presenting to me, and a lot of it is Sean, very argumentative, just going full force as he can. But it was for a point, though, because he kept... we still got a lot out of it. Personally, between you and me, Caleb, I loved everything that we were doing with Carmen. And the fact that I had to play Duinar's just coming to accept that there's nothing that he could have done. This was a random decision that was... It's like partially his fault for putting her out there, but outside just carrying that general guilt of a force that he could not comprehend, laying immortality at his friend's feet. And I love the fact that I know I fought a little bit for like there has to be something there. Oh no, you literally destroyed Hell, which had the repository of most of this world's knowledge, and I didn't have a backup plan from that. So it was just living this character's life out to the last point and then carrying it on to the next generation.
Also, the love triangle thing and the random roll thing.
Yes,
was a good handle.
Yep, that made it so much better that we.
But that was a big thing. I was like, all right, I'll just make some choices. I didn't have all of the choices all statted out when we played the initial adventure, and then there was a bunch of stuff I added in. So the first scenario is about which spells you choose and how many charges you choose to use on that, and how that builds the next phase. And that wasn't my original intention, because there was stuff you guys did I had no idea anyone would try, like say, I will abandon my loved one to die here. Not something I prepared for, as it was the most munchkin-y thing I could possibly think of. But yeah, I had to write that into the book, because that's a crazy thing people would do. So yeah, but the immortality thing, I thought that was interesting.
That was a good one, and having to manage that relationship going back and forth, where obviously her sanity is slipping constantly as she's trying to just either figure out a way to end this in one way or the other.
So the way it works is everything has a crisis you have to overcome, and the way it's written is that if you ascend someone, whatever the crisis is in the last phase, it's that plus your new master just went insane, and they're thousands of years old and have shit tons of sorcery. So
and I admit that going in the last phase too, because this our retrospective is going in the last episode, right? So,
what do you mean?
Okay, this is going after the last.
My brain. Okay, I put that. My brain's
post-mortem.
Okay, thank you. The pre-mortem.
We're not posting it now.
Sorry, my brain.
Halftime show.
Anyway, but the last effect was Duinar's daughter trying to go through the plan of letting Carmen commit magical suicide and just end this, because she wasn't going to screw up anybody else's plans, but she needed this to be over, but couldn't actually physically do it because of the locked-in preconcept of the old sorcerers, which I love that part. It was horrifying, but I loved it.
Yeah, I figure you couldn't commit suicide if you were immortal, and you also couldn't get scurvy. I mean, they're both illnesses. You got magic. Why not cure a both?
Well, I mean, you're the author. You could say immortality is whatever you wanted to.
Yeah. No, I say it's terrible.
All right, fair enough.
So.
So David, what were some of your more memorable moments of the campaign?
Well, I love the way that I got brought in. And looking at it from the perspective of, all right, I'm going to play someone who is going to start out as one of the savages here in Nagalisitu. I'm going to make him as savage as I can, but I know that the second that he steps outside the portal, this is not going to be a world that he is going to want to come back to. So I kept seeing it as more Conan meets a cyberpunk future. If you take... I'm a barbarian smash. We've got computers now. Barbarian rage! That's the thought that came to mind, and I built forehands around that concept. He thought he was clever at first, and realized he was out of his depth in the proverbial wading pool. Another little tongue-in-cheek thing, just because the way that Caleb pitched the character to me was that he was going to be the secret agent working for Carmen.
Yeah.
He was going to be following and keeping tabs. And as a fan of old music, I immediately flashed to Johnny Rivers' Secret Agent Man. They've given you a number and taken away your name. So, hence, Four Hands. The Stealth 20 that was hiding in front of everyone through the entire time. And when he finally does make reference to, oh no, you should have seen what happened to 19 when she tried to go through, reference the fact that he really is just one of Cheska's experiments. She has absolutely no care for him. But at the same time, he knows that if he goes against her, if he tries to say something against her, he is going to be destroyed. And the knowledge that he can't communicate that when he really, really needed to be able to. So that was fun. I loved Aggressive Fashion Show. I thought that was one of the funniest moments I could have done.
Yeah.
No, let me show you how to strut with these boots. Look at my legs! And the fact that we managed to take cobbling and baking and turn them into relevant skills.
Multiple times.
You might have gotten across to Ross that we had a choice. I was under the impression you were making me random roll characters. So, as far as I'm concerned, Caleb, you've no one to blame but yourself for giving me
I'm
fucking
fine.
cobbling.
Yeah. We can blame Greg for that.
I don't even know this man.
It was on the chart.
Thanks, Greg. Thanks for
Give
shooting
someone
it.
5 dice and a master die and cobbling.
Yeah.
They're going to use it.
Congratulations, you are Saint Prada, maker of shoes.
Yep.
Possibly handbags.
He's got them kicks. Yeah.
And those kicks are savage.
Oh no! Actually, they were quite civilizing. I think that was that was literally the point of the kicks, was to make them more civil, to unite the tribes. That was a whole thing.
Yeah, that was really hard to come up with in the draft. Was like I tried in everything to have like one unique weird thing, like fashion wise, that like you just come out of nowhere. Like so, one was cobbling, and you guys came up with that one. I tried to suggest one. I think it'll come up in people's own plays, just based on what characters decide to do. So,
Oh yeah, nice.
Oh,
yeah.
care to give us a preview of that, or
Well, like I went with cobbling for years, but like the suggestion was that like if they do education first and you come back and you find the scholars, fashion is entirely about pockets. Everyone like basically wears fabric to hold additional pockets. Like pockets are everywhere. They pocket everything. Like they're basically long flowing robes, just of various size pockets.
So
Everyone jangles where they walk. Like it's all about like holding bespoke pins and pockets within pockets, and they're just obsessed.
So this is turning into the new Tetsuya Nomura design, except for zippers. It's just pockets everywhere.
Pockets
It's like, I have a thing for that, literally.
No, that's actually a useful thing. I would like that one.
Yeah. So.
A lot of people like pockets. Yeah, I like that. Jason, what were some of your more memorable? What are the more memorable moments to you for the campaign?
Honestly, I liked how the group dynamic played out pretty quick. I mean, I think, the fact that we were kind of like a mercenary company and we went kind of like whole hog for like a D&D-esque, like we hit shit with sticks kind of approach to this. Because Caleb, when he sat us down for this, was like, your company can be whatever. So I feel like a lot of people are like the audience will probably immediately look over at me as this was like my idea, but this was all random rolled, and yet I still somehow ended up with essentially a proto-Viking Count of Monte Cristo character. All random, had nothing to do with that. So yeah, I like that the dynamic worked out really well, and Sean was super game for being an entitled, prat of an officer, and like kind of like owning like this kind of, this was how medieval militaries were set up. And I'm running around barking orders and stuff, and then you guys are support structure elements that are just along for the ride and contributing your various esoteric knowledges wherever it was.
Yeah, I thought it was very interesting how like Sean's fate continually decline as yours rose.
Yeah,
Like, by the end of it, you're Alexander to Nagalisitu. Like,
Yeah, honestly,
other than maybe Dwinar, like the most loved of the outsiders.
Yeah.
And he is just like the Judas character.
Well, it's like he was taking a Black Adder approach to everything. Like, you started this high, and yet you just keep being reborn
Once you came back and they were all scholars, something in Sean's character's brain broke. And it never healed.
Yeah, Sean couldn't make it tonight because of work, so
Yeah.
I'll try and get his thoughts on a future episode.
Yeah. Poor guy just could not handle the nerd civilization.
Yeah. But other than that,
I mean, we had arguments about that in character. Like,
Yeah.
it's just like, I was like, this place is really nice. Because, I was listening to the episodes as I was editing them, and it's like, no, it's not. I hate it. It's like, no.
Yeah, no, he was so furious about it. He just had a couple of games there where, like, when he kept on, it's like, we'll go to the queen and tell them about this magical civilization she could easily conquer. Like,
Yeah.
what if she wants to conquer it? It's like, oh no, we'll tell her not to.
yeah, right.
and then she's teleported in there.
The
It's like, what?
plan. And then I get in there, I'm like, no, we shall conquer it. He's like, oh, I've made a terrible mistake.
So then I gotta roll in and clean it all up.
Yeah, and I'm just like, stabby ace.
Like, I would talk to her, but she hates me.
Right,
This is
yeah,
going to be
no.
the end of the campaign.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, especially considering the way the campaign started with me, like, not even getting to interact much in, like, actual talkie scenes. I was like, great, this is a pretty, I'm going to play my usual role. I'm definitely my typecast role. I'm going to hit stuff with sticks and maybe occasionally get a one line, and, like, that's my role. And then all of a sudden it's like, no, Naked Justice time. And I'm like, oh, well, this is a new version of me hitting something with a stick, and now I break the game, and now for some reason I have to do all the talking. What is going on? Like, yeah, getting thrown. It wasn't pleasant. In fact, I didn't like it at all. But when we came back with religion, and you throw me out there to have to, like, debate a bunch of stuff, and I'm like, I am the last, like, in real life, I am the last person in the world to do this. Like, I am
great,
so
though.
far out of my depth, it's insane. Like, I don't even know how to role play this, let alone, like, I can't make this work in real life, let alone, like, make a character do it. So, yeah, I was like, well, this is gonna suck a lot. Let's go.
No, I thought that was like a great poetic arc, because like you guys be going into battle and like Sean's like, woe betide these moments that have come upon us, like a great scene, and it's like 40 minutes later, and then I just like I'm gonna play the soldiers. What? It's like, kill him.
Yeah, you're
like, go kill this guy.
yours is honestly epic wise too. I think it still rose above to Theoden, ride for ruin, ride for death.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, like episode 5 and 6. If we're gonna talk about highlights, 5 and 6 are my favorite episodes, and getting to see the what's the artist's name? I'm sorry, I keep
Patsy.
Patsy, yeah. Getting to see Patsy's art on episode 5 in particular, because that is my favorite part of the entire campaign, hands down. Like Naked Justice was great, and especially having it and getting to just break Caleb's soul every chance I could with it gave me a lot of pleasure, because I knew you were going to twist my heart into ruins, because I genuinely wanted to imbue the character of, like, maybe I genuinely can make something out of this. I know it'll be kind of awful in that kind of Dune Messiah-esque way, but like, no, like I'm investing this character and myself into this arc of, like, we can actually build something I can be proud of. Oh Lord, no, this whole thing is going bad, and I can't steer it at all. Well, fuck your well-designed characters. I'm just come in and shoot them in the face.
Such a great monologue for Duke Spider-Man.
But yeah, 5 and 6 in the artwork for 5. Like, yeah, like hearing that Patsy, that made him, get in trouble at work laughing. So I was like, yeah, no, the bromance with Dwinar, like, I liked my relationship with Four Hands. Like, I thought that was really fun, and like it like genuinely upset me, like when we had the falling out for those last couple episodes. Because I was like, I that was like a nice connection. But like the feudal, the brotherly feud between Dwinar, like, was some of the most fun role playing.
Oh yeah,
and that crescendo of like, oh, yeah, no, I totally just snuck you into a hostile entity to go see your girlfriend. And, oh, yeah, I just took out this elite guard. Guess what, buddy? Your time's up. Out the window. See you, princess.
Time to airflip this shit.
We're going.
Also, a pretty brilliant metagaming decision considering Aaron's roles.
Yeah, no. I was just,
You don't have to make a stealth check if you jump out the window.
right, exactly.
I have to say,
That's true. Well, by that
I
point,
love that moment too because it's one of the few times that we have seen a helpful defenestration. Normally, it's not helpful at all. It's usually a bad thing. I mean, there was a game where Ross literally played a villain called the Defenestrator who threw people through windows and set windows up so that he could throw people through them on the ground level. This was a good defenestration, the first of its kind.
That was the Defenestrator was an homage to another DC Comics character.
Yeah.
and
He was
also
with the super team with a character named Dog Welder, so who welded dogs to people.
Oh, my God.
and
Also,
also
Garth Ennis
Yeah.
edition.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway.
And also, Jason, I think that's also kind of poetic justice on my side, given like one of the first games I ran, I couldn't actually kill somebody throwing them out a window. So that's probably going back to at least you deserve that. We are deserve that.
Yeah, but I had this idea that people were going to leave their company behind, and I don't know why I thought that was ever going to be the case. And so I hadn't planned for the tribal thing until you guys like left, and I'm like, oh wait, so that whole scenario, which is like probably the majority of the word count now, is going to be it's in there now because I didn't even anticipate needing that, and I couldn't figure out how to differentiate the tribes.
Mm-hmm.
And so way I built it was that it just depends on which spells you used.
Yeah.
That becomes like a new tribal ethos that you have to unite around.
You're talking about like spending those points for
Yeah. So like depending on which ones you use, that's how you get the different tribal versions of people you have to unite when you go back.
Yeah. Okay.
Because I hadn't even anticipated that. I thought it was going to be like, all right, you leave your company in there, and then you go find some people as a small D&D group, and then you come back and you see what they built, and then that's your new company. But I didn't anticipate like, no, we're going to come with us.
We need our soldiers. We need the
Let's
soldiers.
ransack France.
No, let's turn France into Silent Hill.
Yeah.
By the way,
Only part of it. Part of it.
I have to say, for the sheer amount of shit that I gave Aaron in character throughout, fucking brilliant, man.
Which and
We have a swamp. The swamp is a problem. We're going to light it on fire.
No, it's not lighting on fire.
No problem.
It's not setting on fire. It's turning it literally into a giant block of C4 that somehow didn't crack.
That's a
the planet.
nuclear
problem.
bomb is
No
what it
problem.
was. Good Lord, it was a daisy cutter.
France is a problem. There's a coal mine under it.
Yeah.
Silent Hill. No more problem.
Yeah.
Also, I'd like to point out that everybody was on board with that. I was just the agent that enacted it. So,
God,
I was all about Bert.
Thank you. Thank you.
The sacking of Newt, where Sean's like, I believe Seneca once said, and just on and on and on. And we're like, half of us live here. Like, we're not going to kill the priests. Like, and you're just like, you can loot whatever you want. Like, yeah,
no.
Woo! Start lighting everything.
Like I said, yeah, the crescendo of 5 and 6 between the interpersonal moment of throwing Duino out a window, and then with 6 getting to actually lead my I'm like, no, I'm leading this army now, Sean. Like, we're going up this hill, and then Caleb's like, I have this great classical confrontation with the villain. I'm like, don't got time for it. Shoot him. Let's get on.
Another moment I think it's good just because of the great collaboration is when we went into the hidden direction in Nagalisitu towards hell.
Yeah, the direction.
That actually, the Hellfire Gremlins section. Actually, as a standalone adventure, that would be really good.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a really interesting monster design and
Super creepy.
It's the whole build up, and also the fact that we were sort of in this sort of politically vulnerable area. I mean, it does read like actual history of this country. It's like, and then the outsiders came, and due to politics, they had to go kill a bunch of monsters.
Now,
and all this expedition, you know, and yeah, like
And then the outsiders came another time and killed other monsters.
start a
for us.
war to fix some domestic problems. It's a classic trope of history.
Now, I do have a question, though.
I did love the build up to that. And you're just like, where is everyone? This is everyone. It's like, fuck.
Now, here's a silly question, though. With the couple of warthog implanted warthogs that we had with the eyes and the brands, did they actually propagate? And
No, they died. They were irradiated and they died.
Damn it!
Only one survived after the initial wave, like so that becomes like a folklore.
The gremlin thing were
Yeah,
like feral masters, basically. They didn't know any sorcery or anything like that, but they couldn't die from like radiation poisoning.
Mm-hmm.
They died real good when you chopped them up with swords and shit, but you know they were basically feral liches. So yeah, but warthogs have cells and stuff that aren't abused by magic. They died painfully.
Hopefully, its legend grew before it died. So that's all I.
Well,
want
I
to
mean,
for.
We
No,
broke
no.
the siege and wiped out an army
No,
with
because you
them.
broke the siege of Vigia, and then Vigia ran into the army of Newt,
Yeah.
and then as the army of Newt was killing Daryl and everyone else, they got teleported into Nagalisitu and killed to the last man. It's the Lost Legion, like
So
or they
what you're
were lost
saying-
for a couple days until they suddenly came back.
So what you're saying is, for the legend to survive, there must be survivors who have seen it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For the few years until Nagalisitu takes over the world, there's going to be like one crazy guy who's like, the army went missing for 48 hours. What happened? What aren't they telling
That's
us?
what I'm saying.
I think they're doppelgangers.
I'm sure there's a pseudo like wandering crier like Alex
Yeah.
Jones in this
Yeah.
world that is like, yeah, that totally got this one right. Like, the one time he's like, yeah, no, the boars have flames shooting out of their eyes.
I've seen it.
Broken clock is right twice a day. Yeah.
There's a boot in the middle of a field that gives you cancer. There's an experiment.
Starl, in situations like this, I feel that the best thing to do is roll our eyes, look at the heavens, and blame Dweenar.
Agreed.
You only make those arguments because I'm dead and I can't argue back.
No,
I don't think I ever hesitated to make any of those comments to your face.
I know I didn't.
Yeah.
No, because again, I don't think I would. I don't think I ever continued the hate feud as much though. It was just more. I think on more mine it was the annoyance feud. Like, God, what the fuck ever? Just will you take the muffin? It's gonna make you feel better. No, whatever.
It's a horrible sorcery muffin. It's a blasphemy muffin.
That
I will not
literally
drop
gives
out
you
blasphemy.
energy. That doesn't.
Oh, we've just fallen back in the character.
Yeah.
Well, what happens is, like, once we start building some history between ourselves, like through the early episodes, like, I don't want to compare us to Shakespeare, but, as you've pointed out, like, the drama in Shakespeare's plots are all based on misinformation. And so, like, especially by the later episodes, all of our characters are driven by varying degrees of misinformation.
Yes.
And that's what drives so much of the conflict, is that we all think we're doing the right thing, but we all have a different picture in our head of what's going on.
Maybe for Klingsher, I think at that point he had broken.
Yeah, well, some had more misinformation than others. And to be fair, he didn't launch a counterinsurgency against.
He very much did launch a counterinsurgency.
He just spied.
Yeah.
He laid the groundwork for one.
Yeah, I was about to
but
say,
didn't
like-
use it.
Yeah.
He sparked the terror attack. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, he did do that. so-
I didn't expect that.
Yeah.
I thought that was just going to be like an interesting moment to say no, and then like you guys were going to put on Woodstock for Nagalisitu and
Exactly.
having sex again.
yep.
And like I was prepared for that social engineering adventure. He's like, nope, doing it. I'm like, okay, how does this work? No idea. What would Cheska do?
Yeah, well, you did lay the groundwork for the magic pretty well, so that was pretty...
Yep, I didn't know what those stones did when I gave them. I needed to buy time to think about what they did.
Was that between sessions? Or that
No,
that was during the
That was in
session.
session.
It was like,
Come on,
Jessica's
what?
like, come here, I will save it all. He's like, yeah, no questions asked, betraying everybody. I'm
What
like,
did we? What was
Okay.
the next sequence after that? Because what were we doing while you were coming up with that? Was it just us like partying, trying to figure out how to get them to?
We were trying
Go
to.
fuck?
You're trying to get the Drew's Luke
Luke to
installed.
integrate.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, we're
Yeah.
working with the Drew's
And
Luke,
then
yeah.
you realize that they were in a replacement crisis because they were like were 35 before you graduated school in Nagalisitu because they were all hyper intelligent and religious monks. So, yep. That's what you guys were figuring out, and then Sean and David were off betraying the shit out of you. And then you did Nagalisitu 9/11. It was an inside job. And yeah.
It's more
Nuclear
Nagalisitu War of the
muffins can't
Worlds.
melt steel
Like,
yeah.
beams.
And then after that, you were like, "What do we do now?" And then you're just like, "What? Why don't you guys stay inside and figure it out?" Like, yeah,
yeah, not gonna leave and let.
And
them
in
play
my
it out.
defense, I did start off the whole thing by saying, yes, whatever Cheska says, I will probably do. Somebody needs to talk me out of it.
and that's how I went with Sean.
Sean, talk me out of it. No, it's a good idea.
Nope.
Okay. Anyone else? Fuck it, I'm doing it.
We did well.
We didn't know.
We all split up at that point.
Yeah. Although that fight did give us a couple brilliant things, including I love the idea of the gravity assist chair that will just go as far as you can. Like, well, I'm going to horribly injure myself doing this, but this will be the greatest bombing raid you have ever seen.
It'll be the only one. Like they haven't
Exactly.
existed until now.
Yeah, that was one of the more epic battle scenes in the whole
Yes.
whole campaign. Yeah.
I think it was between that and the Hellfire Gremlins.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
And gotta say, the look of wonder on Ross's face when the first flying machine showed up, in character and out, that was the moment where Castor's like, "Oh my god, I have found Nirvana. I do not like it. This is great. This is wonderful. This is foul sorcery." I mean,
Yeah.
he just, I don't think I have ever seen him that happy in character
Yeah.
in a long time.
Yeah, you built Utopia, and then you taught them fear,
Yeah.
and then you made them a badass Utopia.
Yep.
Speaking of the battle for hell, though, in just something that if it had gone a little differently, if we'd managed to save any of the knowledge there too, if we had convinced them otherwise to say leave this alone, would they have discovered use of that too and become even more adapt
probably,
or accepted it, or would if I had stayed behind, would have had a character who could have learned a
There's
fraction of
one
that?
of the scenarios where there's enough archaeology and they piece together enough that like the masters come back and they ascend themselves. And
See,
so
I
you
had a
have to-
feeling that was gonna.
You have to
that
go.
was
You
going.
have to go kill some guys who've been alive for like 300 years
Oh.
and have made a secret society. And they don't know as much as the masters, but they're piecing it together.
Yeah.
That would have been far worse.
Yeah,
So.
but
Oh,
you avoided that one.
Yeah, it seemed like the knowledge of the Masters was inherently corrupting. So
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
there's
It's pretty much all blood magic. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
blood magic all the way down. Yeah. So as we, one thing we didn't, I realized if there was one thing I would have liked to have done more, would have been actually more of a like epilogue. Like I know the last session was sort of like the epilogue of what happens, but we did kind of rush like what happens to our characters afterwards.
Yeah.
And I know that was just purely practical because
Yeah.
we have to get up in the morning. So.
Well, yeah, also that, and then, I kind of feel like it's the end of the campaign is the beginning of another campaign, because now you have your established fantasy world with an alien invasion,
You would switch it over to other characters.
Yeah. A lot like the classic Krull. Yeah, you've invented Krull, maybe, if that is Krull. No one
Krull is
knows.
actually the planet, it turns out.
Yeah, you've invented
That's
whatever
what
that rock thing is that
No,
appears.
it can't. The planet was Krull. The Black Fortress came to Krull.
Oh, okay.
So that guy's name was just Cull.
No, Krull's an entirely different movie.
What about Krill?
But what was that guy?
Krill are things in the ocean that
Those are the
whales
tiny
eat.
shrimp.
Yeah. Krull is the planet that it took place
But yeah, I admit
Yeah.
the campaign.
Cole is another character
campaign
by the
has-
same guy who wrote Conan.
The campaign has
Conan
no
precursor.
no epilogue intentionally because it was supposed to be like, all right, I have like an established fantasy reign setting. How do I fuck it up? Or like, I want to do a prequel to this campaign. It's like, well, what are you going to do about Nagalisitu? And what is Nagalisitu? Like, and it could have gone way bad. Like, I had one in there that's just like a full-blown fascist empire. Like, they get real racist and like they're gonna march out of that portal and kill the portal bloods, and yeah, it's terrifying. Like, so yeah, the doppelgangers that are gonna do economically engineer until they control everything around them. Yeah, that's way better. Yeah.
Because I know, like,
You guys basically invented neoliberals without capitalism.
could have been worse.
Yeah.
I do know that for Castor, I did want to specify that, like, I figured he would want to travel, but as part of like the Nagalisitu trade delegation or something like that.
Yeah.
So, like, he's not like the way I saw it at the very end of it, when they no longer speak our language. And they're kind of.
Oh yeah, I didn't explain that. They began teaching a new language so they could have something to talk.
Yeah.
Around the foreigners. So yeah,
Because
they wanted to appear like, oh no, we definitely didn't come from your society. We definitely have been poaching weird regiments from you for the last 2 months. Yeah.
So I don't think I asked that. I probably forgot about this, but probably what happened to Dweenar's house during that time? Was it still just one of the more?
I imagined Dweenar is like a historic name, and like you're the closest you really get to in the royalty and meritocracy of Nagalisitu. Yeah. Okay, that's how I envisioned it. But yeah, we were running out of time, and
yeah,
I didn't write that, and I ran out of words in writing the thing, so it's way smaller than I originally intended. So yeah.
So what do you think your character's like? So I imagine Castor is just going to like, well, yeah. So I don't feel totally comfortable settling down in there, so I'm going to go travel the world, but with Nagalisitu people and stuff like that. So, but I don't know. What do you think? Is Skarl just going to settle down forever, or?
I mean, I saw Skarl trying to kind of reassert his Alexander-ness, like back and try and understand this contemporary military, because like like I said, this character that I rolled was just this kind of like. I mean, I played him up a bit more, soldierly, but like, he's basically Count of Monte Cristo. And like, it's like, yeah, no, like he's still got some rights to wrong as far as he sees. And like, yeah, no, he kind of fucked up, but like, we did the path I and Skarl wanted to take on building the Nagalisitu. So like, yeah, he felt some ownership and wanted to try and guide it and maybe imprint his understanding of morality upon it because like,
you good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Share malfunction.
Yeah, because he like they creeped him out a little bit towards the end, and like he wanted to make sure like let's make sure we've got a good head on our shoulders with all this like assassinating and impersonation stuff because it is kind of bloodless coup ish, but like it's still kind of creepy.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of how I saw Skarl was trying to like he knew he couldn't take the reins, he saw what that got him, but he still wanted to try and have some impact, and take responsibility for this thing he made.
Okay.
So that's how I saw him, and he had Aide, so like he had something to love and care about. And, yeah. So.
Yeah, I read this book by the sequel to The Three Body Problem, where they have this Chinese naval officer that helps start the space program as they desperately get it online for 400 years in the future when the aliens attack because they see them coming in like astrological terms. And he like there's a bunch of capitalists like using the Space Force for gain, and so he makes like he gets like a 45 and he makes a bunch of ammo to look like he gets them forged from meteorites, and he goes like 200 miles off in space with like a like an infrared laser and shoots them to make it look like a micrometeorite attack. It's just like, yeah, they can't be controlled. Then they freeze him, and then he unfreezes, and now he's like, I don't know how their ship works. Could you teach me how the ship works? It's like, yes, venerated elder, we're glad you're here from the past to help see us forward. It's like, yeah, mutiny. Fuck it, we're a generation ship now. Humanity has to survive. We're not going to win this. Fuck off into space.
It's nice, Earth. See ya.
Yeah, and I'm like, yeah. That'd be Scar. All
Yeah.
right. All right, teach me how this thing works. I'm in charge now.
Yeah. Yeah, the boomsticks were great. Like that last sequence where we got to just role play being drunk and just like experiencing the this technological marvel.
Oh yeah, petty vandalism.
Yeah, riding around the car, like shooting the gun in the air and stuff like. Yeah, that was a genuinely just lighthearted, and we needed that levity at that point because you. I mean, it wasn't like you said. This could have gone a lot worse. This could have gone fascist or any kind of thing.
I made it pretty grimdark at the start, but I thought like, okay, we're gonna have Nagalisitu Woodstock, and it's gonna be pretty lighthearted way through it. I'm fine with that. And he was like, no, I'll do it. Magic stones. I'm like, well, shit, they gotta be bad. Fuck, what do I do? Like,
I'm just surprised that surprised you.
yeah.
I get
Out of character, I knew it was going to be an awful idea. In character,
it's interesting.
there is no way Four Hands knows this.
It was your uranium arm.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah, it was my uranium arm.
So I imagine Scar maybe in 10 years will take a division of Nagalisitu army and go to his homeland to settle some scores. You fuckers are gonna be pissed now. Yeah.
Hey, remember how you tried to sacrifice me to a wizard because I dared to love one minor princess? Burn!
Look like the blast guns on the other hand now. Dave, what do you think Four Hands' legacy is going to be in the Nagalisitu culture?
Well, I got to tell you about first off his end, because I knew that if I went with the portal or went through the portal with the group, I was going to die out there before I saw it come back.
Yeah.
And call it David rationalizing the character and kind of going, okay, because of all of the fact that he has been a very bad man, he doesn't get to see paradise. This is the biblical punishment of Moses. No, you're going to leave Nagalisitu. You're not going to see the promised land because you fucked up. And so that's kind of what I thought
Four Hands would be thinking.
Yeah, it's all right. One last ride with the friends. I'm going to see 19 in hell because that's where I'm destined for. I don't get to be buried in Nagalisitu because the Nagalisitu that I used to know and used to love is long gone. I made sure that he has no family. There's literally nobody that cares about him or would even really remember him, except possibly the Likaken.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they would still be around, but if there are ninjas, they probably have the story of the one-armed master who taught them things.
Yeah, pogo ninjas are still a thing.
Yeah. No, definitely Lokakens would definitely. I mean, you're still an outsider in the history book, so you still, But
I was never an outsider. I was from Nagalisitu.
Yeah, well, I mean, they'll still probably write you in as like, because you wrote in with the outsider, so, but.
I wrote out first.
Yeah. Yeah, there you go. That could be.
I kept on trying to make Likeku like more ceremonial and like katas.
More like Tai Chi.
And then every time you keep coming back, it's like, no, this is how you kill with your hand. like every time you come back, you like lead them to war, or you like bring the Druze Luke back in. So like you were very careful to make Likeku a very practical martial.
Hey, if I have one legacy, Scarl, do you see those deadly flamingos?
Oh,
those are mine.
We were just predicting parkour centuries ahead of time.
Yeah.
A very specialized type of parkour.
Yeah, Pogo ninjas.
Yep, Pogo ninjas. So, Aaron, any other thoughts on Dweenar's legacy? Did he have any? How many? So, like, I imagine he would have a pretty big family.
Yeah, the Dweenar line kind of went long. So, at least the way I kind of put it, and Caleb can redirect this as he sees fit to, but honestly, at least with his own family, I always can imagine he ended up having two sons and Helena. The sons were kind of more off to the side of, carrying. They were the ones really feuding on the Van Helsing side versus the Thrall side, I guess is the best way I can put this. Yeah. So And then
The
Helena.
Renfield versus the Van Helsing.
That's a good one. Thank you.
Mom's
So
favorites versus dad's favorite.
yeah, and then Helena
Mom
just
was definitely on the Van.
and Helena just kind of drove that line straight down to where she was listening more to her dad, but she was just sitting there, and she is really kind of the true legacy of where he leaves. And if I'm remembering correctly, I think she chose to leave.
She left with
with
Castor.
Castor
Yeah.
to go see the world because she has the rights going back, and she wants to actually. My idea is that she would actually stay to learn as much as she could of the current technology, since she's royal blood. And with that generation, would the black sheep aspect of her still carry over, or is that done with?
I don't know.
Okay, just being the one who scarred
Well, it's been
herself.
like 50 or 60 years at
Yeah.
least between the events of the finale.
So we at least got a
a
generation probably out of the way.
Yeah,
two
the
generations.
tactical theater is no longer a thing once they come back into the world.
Yeah. So probably
The amount of rehearsal time needed is very long.
Yeah, so she probably would start on the tactical portion of learning the technology and then applying it to the different cities, along with his imagine what kind of siege weapons he was going to do. But she's carrying out her father's legacy.
Well, I can't help but think quietly to myself that one of the other Dweenar legacies is going to be sorceress baking. Like,
Yes, the line of baking, the bakeries in there. I'm actually
what
very
exactly
happy
is
about
this
that.
croissant? You don't want to eat it.
No,
Throw it like a boomerang.
it will come back in
Watch
your
it
mouth.
explode into
No, he
acid.
just rips off. He just bites
No.
off the tops and throws it.
Yeah.
Explode.
Yeah.
It's a buttery death you're gonna suffer. So-
You know, someone's going to ship it. Do you guys think there would have been anything built between the two, like on your travels? Or...
No,
It'd be a little weird for Castor.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
that's weird.
extremely weird.
It'd be like
Castor.
sleeping
Yeah.
with Dweenar's wife. but really
Granddaughter?
his great
Yeah.
granddaughter.
Probably not. Honestly, at this point, the relationship would probably be more like it's like uncle. It's like uncle
niece.
friend.
Uncle
Yeah.
niece.
Yeah. So that you knew my dad, I'm probably gonna follow you around. I'll probably take your advice because you, outside of Scarl, he knew him best, and Scarl's obviously
Also,
staying
bringing
here.
a human girl back to the dam. What would mom and dad say?
Yep.
Bringing them to their watery graves, going, "Will you accept?"
I mean,
my-"
Castor probably has some kids among his. He spent 3 years basically partying while he was doing running the Daily Beaver.
Yeah, you
so-
probably you said some wild odds. Probably.
Yeah.
The one thing I could probably say with Helena is that she probably would go back to Newt and maybe declare part of her lineage to try to help restore, at least restore order, not to at least the
We need
monarchy
to put
itself.
out the coal mine.
Fine, yeah, take the technology to extinguish the coal fire finally, and be able to establish something more of a republic in that area. So let the
Well,
French
there's a
Revolution
Princess Sylvia and Newt.
Yeah.
You would have to explain being the scarred identical twin of Princess Sylvia. They would have definitely replaced you.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, well
Yeah.
that's at least in the Dweenar family. That would
Yeah.
kind of going up there. It's like, oh, that's who you are. Shit, I got it. All right, we actually have to talk to you instead of killing you.
Yeah. But, like, we have literally the entire rest of the world. Let's go to the one place where you don't have an identical twin. Like,
And it's because you don't know how to live life. The Dweenar decision making continues.
yeah. That's fair. I'm interested. Like, one of the things I'm thinking about is we have only explored like one continent of this planet that the main world is on, and
Yeah.
so like we have no idea. Like, is this the only pocket universe of the mass? Because the one thing I didn't realize until later on when you mentioned the acid oceans, that this wasn't just. I thought I was picturing this as literally just one little bubble of land in otherwise an empty void. But you're saying it was on a larger planet in another universe.
Yeah.
So there could have been other enclaves of masters on different islands in the pocket universe, or something.
Basically, the way I envisioned it is that you travel to this world that they managed to tidally lock in night through magic, and then you're traveling faster than light, and so it's fucking up time every time you're doing it magically traveling there. But you're medieval peasants, so you're like, it's heaven. We're in heaven.
Or hell.
Or hell.
Yeah.
We've gone to hell. But I
How do
wanted
we
to
fix
keep
this
it.
hell?
Yeah. It's basically John Haldeman's The Forever War, but with swords. Like, by the end of that novel, he's like leading a brigade of people who don't speak his own language. None of them have hair.
Yeah, they're all like
And
homogenous, like
they don't have
ethnically.
gender anymore. and he's like this freaky caveman
Yeah.
that leads them into battle. That they all just kind of suffer, like, oh, okay, like because he's been around the universe too long in relativistic speeds. Yeah,
Fine.
yeah.
So yeah, were there any other inspirations you want to mention? I mean, you mentioned most of them, I imagine, but
Nope, that was pretty much all of it.
okay. So yeah, what do you think I will ever go back to Nagalisitu at any point? Because I mean, you did mention that this would be the start of another campaign, but this could something be one of us runs or doing one shots. Like, what would you want to see in Nagalisitu next?
Oh, like you could do a straight fantasy campaign, like if you wanted to be rogues or medieval peasants raiding Nagalisitu for technology, like that'd be like sort of a Tomb of Horrors level difficulty.
Yeah.
And then you could do like the heroic fantasy campaign, unite the kingdoms against the
Those jerks.
invaders, or an Inquisition campaign, like
Oh yeah.
who among the court is truly from Nagalisitu. And like they have moles, like
I like that. What about you guys? Any game ideas or anything you'd like to see explore Nagalisitu that we didn't really touch on?
Let's see. Well, honestly, I kind of would like to see maybe do another one of the full fantasy campaign, but find another aspect of the Masters. It's like of one of the Masters lines where not maybe another continent, but they were screwing around with parallel worlds. This is just one of their many experiments. So you can explore the different combinations that you did. So for each of those. So it's starting off with like militaristic, or starting off with more of the religion going to militaristic and seeing how that.
Oh yeah, the parallel, like a sliders kind of thing, where you jump to different versions of Nagalisitu.
Exactly, and then you can get like the
that's a use of the same text.
The evil or wacky one too, and I'll be surprised. I'll put sliders into anything because but
I know
you can do an overseer's rebellion thing, where like you're just a bunch of tortured slaves that don't have a language, but then some armless lady teaches you to talk with your minds, and so it's going to be like a John Connor sort of thing. Instead of Terminators, it's liches.
I kind of like to do a rain campaign where we're in Nagalisitu and we're just the Nagalisitu people. It's like in between visits from the outsiders. And we're just dealing with, like, we have to fight a war to fight off some other threat that the Masters left behind. So, like, maybe something from one of the other islands figured out how to cross the acid ocean, and like then we got to go deal with that bullshit,
Yeah, maybe it's immensely powerful, and you're just by the end of it's like, we can't let the outsiders know about this. So they will fuck everything up. You know how they are. We're gonna have to erase this from the historical record.
Yeah, because there are those rules and reigns for dealing with like Godzilla type monsters, like army versus Godzilla type thing. So that could be fun.
Yeah, if you'd let Carmen get out, that was basically the scenario. It was gonna be kill this tall lady. All of us throw the legions at her.
David, did you have any in the Nagalisitu games?
Honestly, every single one of them sounds good. I don't think I'm creative enough to come up with something really fun with Nagalisitu right off the top of my head, but I'm more than willing to play in any of them. This sounds great.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, I mean, we'll probably revisit it at some point. I know if I run a D&D or some other generic quote-unquote fantasy thing, I would probably just use Nagalisitu or Newt NVIDIA.
So what would be the X threat that is actually big enough to justify, no, we have to side with the Nagalisitans? Could you see that one?
It would be another one of these chimerical monsters. So it's a mosquito dog,
say like 100, I don't know, like 30 days journey that way. Mm-hmm. There was a different pocket that went to a different section of the plane. Mm-hmm. And some group of adventurers on that side fucked it up. Grabbed one of the other societies, so it's Nagalisitu 1, Nagalisitu 2. Duke it out like a Pokemon battle. See how it goes.
I should have made more weird monsters. I leaned too heavily on leech cats.
I mean, it was fine. Like,
I had sloughs for a bit, but No one cares about sloth owls. They're just real slow.
They sound
Say who.
adorable.
Yeah.
That's
Why
the
wasn't
problem.
that
Too
there?
adorable.
Those
Give
would
it a
get
head
domesticated
No,
into the
no one's
cutest
threatened by
husband.
sloughs.
That's true. Not even. Yeah. Literally no one. Final question for me though is: do you think you'll ever write up the magic rules as a separate thing?
Nope.
All right. Well, that was the same.
Sorry, I didn't realize. I know this is going out the random rules thing, but I didn't realize that my random roll into Merlin was going to.
It was a
complicate
random
that
roll. That
more.
was fine. My original intention was there was no magic except for the bastards, and you were all just like, "What's this weird shimmering portal?"
Although I will,
we poop in the river and then we drink from it. We don't know anything from it. But then you're like, "I'm a sorcerer." I'm like,
I will say
now I need a magic system. Here's 3 rocks. You'll find out what they do in time.
I will say that this, though, we did kind of ignore possibly the greatest magic ability that existed in this game, which was pleading. Just
Please.
begging for people to do stuff.
That's a good skill.
That was the best skill.
It's tied up there with cobbling. Cobbling is
Cobbling,
those
yeah.
are the MVP skills.
Cobbling, pleading.
Y'all didn't believe I could make it work. Boy, did I.
Oh, yeah.
In the actual book, there's like a special school for pleading. Like special bennies at each level of pleading. Like, yeah, you can just totally min-max pleading.
I feel robbed now.
All right. Well, that ends the rain post-mortem. So
No, thanks for listening. We appreciate it.
Yes.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much.
Yep.
We'll talk to you all next time.
Better
Bye.
lives.